The Los Angeles Chargers just got one of the steals of free agency. Before diving in, let's remind ourselves what free agency really is. It's when a player isn't re-signed by their previous team and hits the open market. Now, some players re-sign, but typically free agents are older, expensive, or have dealt with injury. There's usually a reason they're available. Of course, circumstances vary, but often we might put a bit too much emphasis on free agency. What you're really looking for are players who could benefit from a change of scenery, someone whose career is trending upward, not downward. So, let's have a look at new signing. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. Now, let's talk about the Chargers. One of their key priorities is replacing Poona Ford, the defensive tackle who went to the Rams. Ford signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with them, and it's like, okay, fair enough. You tip your cap and move on. In response, the Chargers brought in Deshaun Hand. Hand, an Alabama standout, was a second-round pick for the Detroit Lions. In his rookie season, he made the all-rookie team, but then injuries hit. It was injury after injury. So now the Chargers have managed to sign him on a very inexpensive deal. And this move matters. Let's put it into perspective. Look at some of the bigger contracts out there. Javon Kinlaw, for instance, got 3 years for $45 million. Meanwhile, the Chargers picked up Deshaun Hand for about $5 million, right? That's a significant difference. And here's the thing with the Commanders. They've got a rookie quarterback, so every team's situation is different. But when you start targeting those big-name players, you can sometimes back yourself into a corner financially. Now, take Deshaun Hand, for example. He's a defensive tackle who started his career with the Detroit Lions and made the all-rookie team. After that, he bounced around to the Colts and the Titans, but injuries followed him there too. Then, over the last couple of seasons with the Miami Dolphins, things started to change. He played well, and last year was actually the best season of his career. That's a positive trend. A player on the rise again. These are the types of moves you like to see. Smart, calculated decisions, instead of overspending on players who might not be worth it. Moves like this show restraint and strategy. So what are you getting with Deshaun Hand? Let's break it down. He's quicker than most defensive tackles and disruptive on the field. Is he a direct replacement for Ford? Not exactly, but the drop-off isn't as significant as you might think. It's a move that makes sense, especially for the cost. And remember, we're only about 3 days into free agency. There's still a lot of time for the Chargers to add more pieces. Speaking of that, there are 6 more free agents the Chargers should consider signing. One area that feels like a priority: interior offensive linemen. It seems inevitable that they'll address that need, but they're being patient, letting things settle, and waiting for manageable deals to emerge. Brandon Scherf, Will Hernandez, and Elgton Jenkins. These guys are solid options, but they're older. You're looking at 33 years old for Scherf, and Jenkins isn't far behind, almost 30. But honestly, that's fine. Sometimes you need that veteran presence. Look at the Lions. They had Kevin Zeitler at 34 years old, and he played outstanding. They gave him a 1-year deal, and he delivered. Then he went and got a raise with the Titans. That's a win-win. Now, what about Stephon Diggs? I'm not a fan of that one. He's coming off an ACL injury, which is always a concern. Plus, there's a bit of off-the-field noise with him. I'm not saying he's a problem, but when you factor in the injury, the price, and the uncertainty about his performance, it just doesn't seem worth it to me. And then we have Yannick Ngakoue. Absolutely. That's a solid move. What about Calais Campbell? I like that one too. He's an older guy, sure, but he adds depth, and that's invaluable. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Moving on, the Chargers added Taylor Heineke as their backup quarterback. That's a nice move. It's solid, and it feels like they've addressed a need there. Because let's be honest, Easton Stick as the backup, that just wasn't going to cut it. No offense, but it wasn't going to work. So getting Heineke in there is a good move. Now let's look at this next one. Here's where it gets interesting. And to be clear, I know these guys are better than Deshaun Hand. Don't get me wrong. But look at DeMarcus Lawrence. 3 years, $42 million. He's going to be 33. Compare that to Deshaun Hand, who's 27. That's a big difference. Dang, right? And let's not forget a couple of other names out there. Zadarius Smith? Love that option. Von Miller? Still available. There are definitely moves to be made. Basically, there's definitely a strategy to free agency, and as we've watched it play out over the past few years, a pattern emerges. On that first day, there's a wave of big money being thrown around. Usually it's the desperate teams, often the ones at the bottom of the standings, overpaying for players because they feel they have to make a splash. But over the next 5 days, we'll see more calculated moves from teams like the Chargers. More mature teams know how to navigate this period and make smart, effective decisions. That's what you want to see. Focused, deliberate moves instead of reactionary spending. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this. While we're at it, I've been keeping an eye on the other teams in the division. The Broncos? They seem to be doing well so far. The Raiders, they might actually look like a legitimate franchise now, which is unfortunate because, let's face it, they weren't before. And then there's the Chiefs. You know what to expect there. With Patrick Mahomes, they're always going to be good. Maybe not unstoppable, but they'll always be in the mix. They're not a team that excites you anymore because you already know what they bring to the table. Until someone knocks them down, they'll continue being a problem in this division. That said, this division feels wide open. It's tough, no question about that, but there's no one team that's an unbeatable juggernaut. You've got a competitive division, but nothing overwhelming. That's what you hope for, an opportunity to win the division, get a home playoff game, and stay in the hunt for meaningful games late in the season. So go win the division, take control, and make the most of the opportunity. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.